Before dawn, the capital breathes in incense. Kyoto is not awake yet, but it is never silent. Somewhere in the darkness, a wooden clapper strikes the hour. Dogs bark along the alleys behind noble estates. A temple bell rolls across the mist like distant thunder, its echo caught in the tiled roofs and drifting low across the Kamo River. The air smells of wet earth, lamp oil, and ash from last night's cooking fires. Summer humidity presses gently against silk screens and paper doors. Inside a residence belonging to a branch of the Minamoto clan, servants move barefoot across polished wood. Sleeves are tied back. Water is poured. Charcoal is coaxed back into life. The household wakes carefully. This is a world where rank is visible even before speech. The way a person kneels announces birth. A child sleeps in a separate room. He does not yet know he has been born into a century that devours families. In the capital, power does not live in armies. It lives in whispers, messages carried at night, alliances made during poetry gatherings. But underneath, the city smells faintly of iron. War is coming, though no banners yet fly. The boy will later be called Minamoto, no Yoritomo. For now he is only a son in a house where men speak quietly behind screens. Outside the estate walls, the capital is waking. Vendors push carts through morning fog. Rice porridge steams into the damp air. Horses stamp in narrow lanes, their breath visible. A messenger gallops past too quickly for ceremony. Unusual in a city that prefers elegance to urgency. By mid-morning, rumours begin to circulate. The retired emperor has chosen sides. Great families are gathering men. Arrows are being counted. Kyoto does not prepare openly for violence. It tightens. Gates close earlier than usual. Courtiers travel with escorts. Armour is carried wrapped in cloth, so it does not offend refined eyes. The capital tries to remain beautiful, while readying itself for blood. When fighting finally erupts, it is sudden and close. The clash of bowstrings cracks through narrow streets, not the roar of a battlefield. Sharp, intimate violence echoing between wooden walls. Smoke curls upward where residences burn, the scent of cedar beams mixing with the sweetness of incense stores catching fire. The river carries ash. War in the capital is confusion. Shouting servants, ox carts abandoned sideways across roads, nobles praying behind screens, while mounted warriors push past garden ponds and carefully arranged stones. The boy does not see the battles. He hears them, raised voices, running feet. A woman weeping somewhere nearby, but trying to muffle it with sleeves. Armour being fastened in haste. The dry rasp of lamella plates pulled tight with cord. Doors opening and closing too often. Too hard. Days later, the household grows quieter than before. No announcement is made to him. Children of noble blood learn early that truth arrives slowly. But absence is understood even by the young. Rooms remain closed. Meals are smaller. The adults bow longer before the household shrine. His father will not return. Victory in the capital does not mean mercy. Defeat does not always mean death. Sometimes it means something colder. The child is spared not by justice, but by calculation. A rival clan leader, Taira no Kiyomori, chooses exile over execution. It is a practical decision. Killing a boy creates ghosts. Sending him away creates distance, so preparations are made for a journey east. The morning he leaves, Kyoto is painfully clear. After rain, the mountains surrounding the basin stand sharp against the sky. The city smells washed. River water, wet moss, fresh cut wood from repairs where fighting damaged gates. Life resumes quickly here. It must. The court survives by continuing. Oxen pull the cart through the Rashomon gate. Wheels grind against damp earth. Behind him, the capital recedes into haze and ceremony. Ahead lies countryside, Wider skies, rougher roads, fewer poems. He rides not as a traveller, but as a living reminder of a defeated house. Guards accompany him. Not hostile, not friendly, careful. The journey takes days. The air grows salt-tinged as the route bends toward the eastern provinces. Villages smell of horses and smoke instead of perfume. Men wear swords not for status but for use. Conversations are shorter, laughter louder. The boy watches. He listens to accents different from Kyoto's softness. He sees armour worn openly in daylight. Here disputes are settled quickly and remembered plainly. The elegance of the capital feels distant, almost fragile. Exile is meant to end a story. Instead it changes the world the boy grows up in. Not the painted screens and poems of the court, but the practical lives of provincial warriors who measure loyalty and protection rather than rank. By the time the sea wind reaches him for the first time, carrying the sharp scent of salt and drying kelp, the future of Japan has already shifted slightly, though no one yet notices. A child meant to disappear has been placed among people who respect endurance more than lineage. And endurance is something he will learn very well. Morning in the east arrives louder than in the capital. There is no gentle transition from darkness to ceremony here. Roosters shout across fields before the mist lifts. Dogs bark at nothing and everything. A fisherman coughs as he pushes his boat into shallow surf. Wind moves freely across open land, carrying the smell of brine, mud and wood smoke instead of incense and layered perfumes. The boy who left Kyoto grows older beside a different rhythm of life. Iron tools ring against stone. Armour is repaired in courtyards, not hidden behind painted screens. Men speak plainly and laugh with their teeth visible. Disputes are settled with hands on sword hilts rather than poetry contests. Minamoto no Yoritomo learns to watch before he learns to command. He is not free. Guards remain nearby, never cruel, never trusting. He rides, but never far. He walks, but never alone. His existence is tolerated, not forgotten. Exile is a leash long enough to live with, but never slip. Seasons mark the passing years more clearly than court calendars ever did. Summer presses heat into the earth until insects scream in the grass. Cicadas vibrate in the trees so loudly, conversation becomes gesture. Sweat darkens simple clothing, and armour cords grow damp and heavy. Even the sea smells thicker. Autumn arrives in sudden clarity. The sky sharpens into blue. Farmers beat rice from stalks in steady rhythm, a sound that repeats across valleys like distant drums. The scent of drying grain mixes with smoke from brush fires. Hawks circle overhead. Winter strips everything bare. Frost grips the ground at dawn. The sea turns grey and impatient. Wind claws through thin walls at night, and sleep comes wrapped in coarse blankets rather than layered silk. The young exile absorbs it all. He watches how provincial warriors live. Land first, loyalty second, rank a distant third. A man leads because others trust him to protect their homes, not because a distant emperor recognizes his name. Authority here must be practical, or it disappears. It is a lesson Kyoto never teaches. In this harsher place, he encounters a family whose ambitions are quieter but heavier than most. The Hojo. Their residence does not attempt grandeur. The buildings are sturdy, built to endure storms rather than impress visitors. Horses stand tethered nearby. Spears lean openly against walls. The household smells of leather, oiled wood, and cooking broth simmering for many people at once. Here lives Hojo Tokimasa. He is not the most powerful man in the region, but he is patient. He studies the exile with careful politeness. Where others see a defeated child of a fallen clan, Tokimasa sees something else, legitimacy waiting for the right moment to breathe again. And within the household moves his daughter. Hojo Masako. She walks without the hesitation expected in Kyoto's noble daughters. She speaks directly. The eastern provinces have little use for delicacy in times that often turn violent without warning. She understands men who carry weapons, and she understands the value of a name even when stripped of power. Between them grows not romance first, but recognition. The exile possesses a lineage the East lacks. The East possesses strength the lineage needs. Their marriage binds two different Japans together. The authority of blood and the authority of land. Evenings in Izu settle slowly. Smoke drifts low across the compound as meals cook. Horses snort in the cooling air. The sea becomes a constant hush beyond the hills, steady and indifferent. Men sit together sharpening blades, not in preparation for immediate war, but because readiness is a habit here. Yoritomo listens more than he speaks. Stories of disputes over fields, raids settled before sunrise, agreements sealed by shared risk instead of written decree. In the capital, power travels downward from the court. In the east, it rises from the ground upward. He begins to understand something profound. A ruler in Kyoto commands because tradition says so. A leader in the east commands because men choose to follow. Years pass. The boy intended to fade into obscurity becomes a man shaped by patience and observation. Not a duelist, not a reckless warrior seeking fame. He learns to measure time differently, waiting for conditions instead of forcing them. Exile has given him something unexpected: perspective. When news drifts from the capital, carried by travellers and merchants, promotions granted, titles rearranged, rivalries blooming again. It sounds distant, almost fragile. Kyoto still believes it governs the country, but far from its avenues, warriors already live by another system. The wind off the sea grows stronger at dusk, rattling shutters. Lantern light flickers against wooden beams. The eastern sky darkens quickly after sunset, stars emerging sharp and numerous without the haze of the great city. Standing outside, breathing air that smells of salt and damp earth, Yoritomo looks toward the dark outline of mountains surrounding the coastline. Natural walls, narrow approaches, a place defensible not by decree but by geography. He does not yet act. He does not yet declare anything. But for the first time, he begins to imagine a centre of power that does not depend on the capital at all. The idea forms quietly, like the tide reshaping a shore, unnoticed at first, unstoppable in time. In the summer of 1180, the news arrives not with ceremony, but with urgency. A rider appears at dusk, horse streaked white with salt and foam. He does not wait to wash. He does not ask permission to rest. A letter is produced immediately, its edges softened by travel, its seal cracked from repeated handling. The call is simple: rise against the Tira. Across the country, warriors react quickly, some out of loyalty, some out of ambition, others out of fear of choosing the wrong side too late. But Minamoto does nothing. Days pass. The sea keeps its steady rhythm beyond the hills. Fishermen still leave before dawn. Farmers still bend over flooded fields. The Hojo household continues its routines. Cooking, repairing tack, checking boundary markers. Only the conversations grow quieter. Men expect a declaration. Instead, Yoritomo listens. He asks how many riders nearby families can supply without starving their fields. He asks how long food stores last if roads close. He asks which valleys flood in heavy rain and which paths stay usable in winter. Questions not about glory, but survival. In the evenings, lanterns burn late as maps are drawn from memory onto rough paper. Rivers, ridgelines, narrow approaches between hills. The land becomes more important than the enemy. At last he moves, but not toward Kyoto. Messengers ride outward instead of westward, carrying promises rather than threats, protection in exchange for support, stability instead of plunder. Local warriors gather cautiously, then steadily, not summoned by rank, but persuaded by reliability. The chosen headquarters is a coastal basin ringed by steep forested slopes and open only to the sea and a few tight passes. Kamakura. Waves roll against the shore as horses arrive day after day, hooves thudding into packed sand. Temporary shelters rise, cook fires multiply. The smell of broth and wet leather thickens the air. No grand announcement marks the moment, yet a centre of gravity forms. Others prepare to win a war. Yoritomo prepares to control what comes after. He does not march for the capital. He builds a place the capital cannot easily reach. By the time banners finally gather beneath the hills, the rebellion already has something no uprising before possessed. A permanent home. Morning mist clings low to the valley. Kamakura does not wake like a city. It wakes like a camp that refuses to leave. Horses stamp against the damp ground, shaking off cold from the night. Armour cords creak as men tighten them, not for battle, but for routine. Somewhere a pot lid rattles as rice boils over a steady fire. The smell of sea water mixes with smoke and wet leather, the scent of many men staying longer than they first intended. Waves roll beyond the narrow strip of beach, slow and indifferent. At first, nothing here seems permanent. Tents stand where trees were recently cleared. Spears lean against unfinished walls. A cooking trench runs beside a half-dug drainage channel. The place still looks temporary, as if the army might depart at any moment. But they do not depart. Under the direction of Minamoto, small decisions begin to repeat. The same families cook in the same places. The same guards watch the same passes. The same riders carry messages along the same roads. Repetition becomes structure. Paths harden under constant footsteps. Mud flattens into streets. Wooden posts mark property lines that yesterday did not exist. A storehouse rises near the centre of the settlement. Not elegant, but carefully positioned above flood level. Rice is measured and recorded before it is eaten. The sound of writing brushes becomes as common as sharpening blades. Men arrive not carrying weapons first, but disputes. Two farmers kneel in the packed dirt courtyard, arguing over irrigation water diverted during planting. A mounted retainer accuses another of seizing horses promised as payment. Brothers disagree over inheritance while their armoured companions stand awkwardly behind them. They have not come for war. They have come for judgment. Yoritomo listens more than he speaks. Decisions are brief, clear, recorded. Once given, they are not debated. The losing side bows because uncertainty is worse than defeat. Word spreads quietly across the eastern provinces. If you need an answer, go to Kamakura. By late afternoon, dust rises on the road again and again as riders arrive, dismount, bow, and wait their turn. No ceremony greets them. No court rank is required. Authority lives here because it functions. In Kyoto, rank determines power. Here, usefulness does. Watch posts appear on the surrounding ridges. Fires burn there at night, steady and deliberate. Not signal flames, but presence. Proof the valley is watched. Messengers leave at regular intervals, regardless of weather. Even rain does not halt the rhythm. Straw cloaks darken and drip as schedules continue. Nothing announces a government, yet one exists. The emperor still reigns far to the west, surrounded by painted screens and poetry. Decrees still bear imperial seals, but fewer riders travel that direction now. More turn east instead, toward the valley between mountains and sea. Kamakura begins to feel inevitable. Evening settles with a deepening blue sky above the ridgelines. Lanterns glow along newly worn paths. The tide pushes inward, then withdraws again, as it always has. But human movement now follows its own pattern, ordered, predictable, daily. No proclamation declares a new capital. No banner claims the country. Yet as darkness gathers and another line of travellers waits patiently for morning judgment, something profound has already happened. Japan has learned where decisions are made, and once people know where power lives, they rarely return to where it used to be.